Hello everyone, it's Lindsay, and today we are going to get messy with some paints and just play with some pretty printables. I don't know about you, but I've really been struggling finding my creative itch the last few weeks. I think part of it's just having everybody at home. It's really hard for me to find some quiet time to create. So I'm trying to set aside some time for that today. And so what I did was I hopped on and checked out some of the new printables from Illustrated Faith. Each month they release a big giant release at the beginning of the month, and then each Tuesday they release new printables in the shop. So definitely check them out on a weekly basis if you're not already, to see what new printables are out there. I used to be the one that bought every single printable every time it came out, but it got to be a little overwhelming. So now I just hop on and just kind of pick and choose what I want to create with, maybe for the week. And to be intentional about using my printables, I try to lay them out, have everything pre-cut, and have them easy to reach for, and that seems to work best for me. So I found this set here. This is from the April release. This was from Brave Little Tailor, and it's the I Will Remember set. I will link it down below for you guys. It comes with 2 pages of printables. You get this page here that has some title starters and then some illustrated floral pieces. And then there's also a page that has these really pretty floral bunches. I've already gone ahead and cut mine out. I absolutely despise fussy cutting with every inch of my being, but I just sat down on the couch with my family. We were watching a show, fussy cut them out, and then I just keep them on my desk so they're ready to grab and go. I will link these containers down below. I always get questions about them. They're from Target, so those will be down below. So those are those 2 pages. So I printed this page on clear sticker paper. I was thinking about layering some of these florals on the page that I'm creating, but I wanted to play around with printing on different mediums. So I'd seen a few of the Illustrated Faith girls printing on fabric, and so this is something I've been wanting to try. So one of my necessary trips to Walmart the last few weeks, I found this pre-cut poly cotton fabric. It was super, super inexpensive. I will try to find something equivalent and link it down below for you guys. I know that fabrics kind of get hard to get a hold of right now with the mask shortage and the pandemic craziness and all of that. So I completely understand that. But you might be able to use maybe some old sheets that you have laying around, even an old t-shirt. I don't know, get creative with what you have on hand. But what I did was I just cut a square of the fabric. I washi taped it to some thin cardstock. This is not fancy thick cardstock. I will link the cardstock that I used down below. It's from Hammermill. It is very thin. I think you could probably do this on copy paper as well, but I just wanted to give it a little bit of heft when I sent it through my printer. And I just washi taped it onto this. And now I didn't show this process because everybody's printer is going to be different. You need to look at your printer directions to see how to feed paper into it to get it to print on a specific size or side. So for me, I need to insert the paper upside down with the top of the page going in first, and that's how it pulls it through and prints where I want it to print. So everybody's printer is going to feed a little bit different, but I had no problem getting this to go through my printer. I will link the printer that I use down below for you guys if you're curious about that. And I didn't change the settings. I just used normal print settings, and it print directly onto this here. Now I did blow up this element a little bit bigger just because I knew I was going to be creating in my interleaved Bible. If you have questions about how to isolate graphics from printables, I do have a couple videos. I'll link them down below. One is for Photoshop and one is for Silhouette Studio. Silhouette Studio is a free program that you can download. You do not have to have the Silhouette Cameo machine to use the program. So you can use that program to do these steps. So I will link that down below if you're curious about that, but those are the 2 programs that I use. And so we were gonna just cut this out and use this as the main element on the page. I wanted to just play with some texture and have some fun. You could get really crazy and creative with how you use printables and fabric. You could create pillows or home decor items or all kinds of fun things. So really just have fun with it. But like I said, I'm working in my interleaved Bible today. And I went through and just found one of the verses in the suggested verses that Taylor gives us that goes with that title starter. I have everything I need because of his grace. And so I landed in 2 Corinthians 12, verses 9 through 10. It says, "But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly of my weaknesses, so that the power of Christ may rest upon me. For the sake of Christ, then, I am content with weaknesses, insults, hardships, persecutions, and calamities. For when I am am weak, then I am strong. I think I've documented this verse recently in a video. It feels like it. I know I've studied this one quite a bit. And I just need this constant reminder that, my weakness is 100% an opportunity for God to shine in his greatness. And it's not all about me. It's about him and what he can do. And so many of us might be finding ourselves in this situation where we feel weak right now. We are, just dealing with a lot of hardship, and this is the perfect opportunity to really witness God and his provision and what he can do in your life when you fully trust and have faith in him. Now, I am not saying prosperity gospel is not a guaranteed. You're not going to just, pray about it and wake up and have $1 million in your bank account. That's not how it works. But just being able to see all the amazing ways that God can show up and provide for you and just give you peace during a time such as this, I think is so amazing. And so I just am primarily going to be using the I Will Remember set, but I also grabbed some of the Beloved Society girls. I think these might be from last month, and I just had them already cut out, so I just grabbed one of the girls that I wanted to use on this page. I also have ahead of time stamped and fussy cut out one of these tickets from the 2020 Vision stamp set. If this is still available in their shop, I will link it down below. This is an older set, but I know that they restock this stamp set sometimes, and I wanted to use that. And we're just going to get messy. I'm really enjoying being back in an interleaved Bible for now. I like to flip around, change my style, do things all different. I know that drives some of you guys nuts. I'm sorry about that, but it's, it's my worship. And so this is how I want to worship today, is in this particular Bible. So that's what we're going to do. I've got, some paints, some gelatos, some Neocolor 2 crayons, and we're just going to get messy and have fun. I tend to do a lot more just artwork in this style of Bible and not so much journaling, but I may do some prayer journaling or something in the margins. So let me go ahead and put you guys on fast forward and we will put this page together. Okay, so we're going to stick with the whole mixed media vibes that I've been doing lately. I have a Bible mat underneath my page, and then I have a nonstick craft mat out on my table for my paints and things. So I'm beginning by laying down a layer of white acrylic paint on this page. I have to admit, I'm a little spoiled with the Illustrating Bible pages because they are white and they're not white in this interleaved Bible. So this is also going to just act as a protective layer, so I don't have to worry about anything bleeding through. So I went in with this next layer of paint before drying the white because I wanted things to blend, but it ends up being an oops. So learn from my mistake. So my white paint is still wet, and now I'm going in with some Distress paint. This is in Tattered Rose, and I'm realizing I ordered a bunch of these with the flip tops, but I think that I prefer these sponge tops like this one has here because I like that I can apply it directly to page, and I have another technique I'll show you here later in the video. But what I was finding was it was actually picking up the white paint. So I went ahead and heat set everything really quick, and then I'm going back in with the pink. That way it sits on top of the white paint and isn't picking up the white paint, if that makes sense. And I'm just wanting a very, very light background. This is a light color, but you can definitely, intensify it by adding more paint, but I want it just to be on the background. So I'm also going in with some tumbled glass. I'm trying to be conscious about where I put this blue color because I don't want to create purple. There's no purple in the printables that I'm using, so I want the blue to be separate from the pink. So I'm just kind of laying that down in a few places. It may be a little bit difficult to see on camera because, like I said, it is very, very faint. It's just a light wash of color in some places on the background. And I am going in with some additional white paint, almost like a dry brush technique. I'm really wiping off a lot of the paint before I go to the page just to knock back any areas that may have gotten a little bit darker than I wanted. So I'm going to set that aside to dry, and I'm going to work on this other element here. So I pulled out these papers. These were a printable from Illustrated Faith as well. This is from a set last month. I'll have it linked down below. Rather than grabbing some of the papers from this month, I want to use what I already have. I had these already printed. They were out on my desk, and I hadn't used them yet, so that's what I'm going to use. And the colors really worked with the colors of the stuff I was doing today. So I picked up this stripy background piece, and I'm just roughly cutting out my fabric here, and I'm going to take this over to my sewing machine and just do a really rough stitch around that and stitch it directly to the cardstock, and then just trim it down a little bit to where I stitched. Now, this fabric is very, very see-through. If you wanted to not be able to see the paper through it, then you could definitely layer it up. But I wanted to be able to still see some of the color poking through the fabric. I didn't want to lose that really pretty stripy background. So now I'm just going and picking at the fabric with my fingers. I left a little bit of a border around my stitched lines, and I'm just picking at it to ruffle the edges, fray them. I'm cutting any, extra length of string that's hanging off, but I'm wanting it super, super messy just to give some texture. 100% not necessary. You definitely could print this on regular cardstock and just use it that way, but I love the texture that you get by doing this. So now I'm just going to go in and trim down the paper. And now there is my little title card. I love, love, love how that came out. I will definitely be doing some more printing on fabric in the future. So now I'm just going to kind of stage things. I picked that girl that is from the Beloved Society Easter Girls. I didn't, try to find one that matched what I look like. There definitely are options there if you want to find a girl that looks like you, but I just went with colors that would go with what I was using. So I'm just kind of laying it out, seeing where I want things positioned before I continue to work on the background a little bit more, because I want to go in and do some more details in the background, but I don't want to waste time by, adding them to places that are going to be covered up with these elements. And I also want to see where, stuff is going to be showing from the background. That way I make sure that I add elements to those areas. So I decided to use some washi. This is a really fun way to use up your washi stash and just get some different textures and elements on the page in the background. So this is a washi tape from one of the recent kits. If it's still available as an individual item in the shop, I will link it down below for you guys. But you could use any textured washi tape. And I'm just kind of, trying to be conscious of the fact that the majority of the center of the page will be covered, so I don't necessarily need to add anything to that area. But it's just another way of making marks. It's just the same as you would stamp or add, Neocolor 2 crayons or whatever it might be. This is just another element on the background. So I am going to go in and add another layer of white paint. Again, just kind of a dry brush technique. Very, very, very light wash of paint to help that tape just blend into the background and look like it's a part of the background. And then I'm going to pull out this stamp set. This is from the Rooted kit. From the month before last. And I'm actually going to stamp with paints. This is where I really love those dauber tops. So I'm able to stamp out some paint onto my mat and then pick it up with my stamp and then stamp with the paint. Now this paint is permanent basically once it's dry. So you want to make sure you immediately wash your stamps when you stamp with it. But the nice thing about stamping with this paint is I don't have to think about what type of ink to stamp on acrylic paint because I'm just stamping with acrylic paint. So it will dry. The color is very muted. I like that I can, have consistency in my color palette as far as if I want to use distress inks or distress oxides or whatever it might be. I just like that the colors all kind of match. So I just stamped a couple of those stamps in the background with the paints. And then now I'm going in with some Neocolor 2 crayons. So this is what mixed media is all about. It's all about layers, using different mediums, mixed media. So I just scribbled some little leaf shapes with my Neocolor 2 crayons. I don't always activate them with water, but this time I did decide to go ahead and just take a damp paintbrush and just kind of drag the color around a little bit. Just very, very messy. I'm not fully filling in the leaves. I'm just kind of activating the color and giving it kind of a, a wash of color like a watercolor in the background, and that's just going to add a different element to the page. And then I'm going in with an orange Neocolor 2 crayon and just adding some little sprinkles of colors to pull in that orange from the girl and the orange that's on the paper that I used in the background. And I am activating that with a little bit of water. This also helps reduce any transfer. If you color with the Neocolor 2 crayons and then don't activate them with water, sometimes you can have the color or pigment will transfer to the other page when you close your Bible. So by activating it with the water, that lessens the chance of that happening. And it just makes it look more like watercolor instead of just a crayon. I don't know, it's just a different look. So now I can start adhering everything down. I'm just using some tape adhesive. Since I am working in my illustrating Bible, I am trying to be conscious about not using dimensional things like foam adhesive. I'm trying to keep it a little bit flatter just for the sake of the binding of this Bible. It's not coil bound, so I'm a little limited on how chunky I can make things. But even with that, I'm still able to have lots of texture on the page with the fabric and the different mediums that I used. And so I'm still happy. I need some texture in my life. So I went ahead and pulled out, this is a date stamp from Illustrated Faith, and decided to stamp it with colored ink just to pull in some more of that orange. And then there's a spot to write in the verse. And instead of writing it in, I realized that the verse on the printable would fit perfect in that little spot. So even though those verses are just there as a reference for you guys, you can utilize every element on those printable pages. So cut out those verses, use those too, kind of like WordFetti. So I'm going to add that, and then off camera I went ahead and just journaled, not even really a full prayer, just, it's all about God. It's not about me, and I need to remember to praise Him even during the hard times. That's something my family and we've been very, very intentional about the last few weeks. Every day we just have conversations about how amazed we are at how God is providing for our family through such a difficult time. It's all to Him. All the credit goes to Him. We've just been so blessed. So I'm going to go ahead and just highlight my verse off to the side here with a marker. And then this is where I decide to use some of those line drawn florals. Since I didn't incorporate them into the background of the page, I decided to go ahead and just cut one of them out and bring that element over to this side. And because it's on clear sticker paper, it just melts right into the page and I can still read all of the Bible text, no problem. So there's a look at the back of the page. You can see no bleed through, and that is going to be it. So if you have any questions or comments, be sure to leave those down below. Check out the description box for links to everything that I used today. Special thank you to Illustrated Faith for sponsoring today's video. Give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to my channel if you're not already subscribed. And until next time, thank you so much. Bye-bye.